and it goes down.
Now it's time for Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the marijuana nation.
What are you people? On dope?
Where you can toke.
I inhaled frequently.
Or you can talk.
I experimented with marijuana and didn't inhale.
Or you can toke and talk.
10 federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
While we talk about toke on Toker Talk Radio.
So, by the way, when it comes to pot, if you're 40 years old, you live in a log cabin in Oregon, you got 12 giant pot plants in your backyard, have a ball.
Live from beautiful Portland, Oregon at Rolla J Studios.
Hey, this is great. Just like cannabis.
Plus your calls live at 971-533-7111.
They're walking on their pants with their cap on backwards, listening to Enema Man and Snoopy Poop Dog.
What's to keep somebody from getting all potted up on weed and then getting behind the wheel? Gateway theory doesn't work. It's a reality.
Holland, is it real? Don't tease me.
We're locking up people that take a couple of puffs of marijuana, and the next thing you know, they got 10 years.
And now, here's your host, the guru of ganja graphics, the sultan of sativa statistics, and the worst nightmare of a reefer-mad prohibitionist. A polite, perspicacious, productive pothead with a propensity for PowerPoint. Radical Russ Belville.
All right, we got some more here on Todd Mitchum and O.penVAPE. Yeah, boo. Now, Todd Mitchum, it's M-I-T-C-H-E-M. It's at T-O-D-D, M-I-T-C-H-E-M. And I'll just read you some of his tweets from today. He said, not sure what you mean. Our new policy takes huge steps to separate cannabis from dangerous drugs. The point here is that we must teach the public cannabis doesn't belong in the same category as dangerous drugs. The strategy was careful to support mainstream cannabis use, but protect the industry from dangerous accidents. We're also against the war on drugs. It's a failure, but we want to keep our team safe. We're aligned with you. I love this industry. I use cannabis. I want my team to be safe at work. I respect you all. I do respect you all greatly. The policy was to set the tone so cannabis consumers aren't punished. As a community and industry, we all agree the war on drugs has failed. Let's put our minds together on how to address workplace safety. Read our policy. They got the policy online now. I'll read some of that to you. And tell me how you would revise it to keep our 125 people safe while separating cannabis from other substances. We want a reasonable policy where people who use cannabis aren't punished. That was the point. The policy was announced weeks ago and the feedback was positive. Cannabis shouldn't be vilified. But any other drug, fuck them. Any other drug, fuck you, you lose your job. See, this is the kind of bigotry that we've been fighting against. The point isn't the danger of the drug you're testing for. The point is the testing for the drugs in the first place. Martin Luther King did not march. Martin Luther King did not have a dream that his kids could be judged by the quality of the content of their character and not the color of their skin, to only have them judged fit for employment by the content of their urine. This is disgusting, and there's some people in here and some people in his Twitter feed that actually agree with them. I like the term dangerous drugs and cannabis should be separate, like they should be. Folks, a drug in and of itself is not dangerous. It's your relationship with the drug that can or cannot be dangerous or abusive or problematic. This notion now, and this is something Ethan Nadelman warned us about at the Drug Policy Alliance conference, is this idea of cannabis exceptionalism, marijuana exceptionalism, this idea that marijuana compared to any other drug use or drug policy issue is completely different, and therefore that we can accept marijuana, but all other drugs we're going to continue to demonize. All other drug users and whatever else might be going on, we're going to consider that a crime. We're going to consider that bad, evil, awful, terrible. If a person's got a problem with a drug and you can't spot it as a manager without testing their pee, you suck as a manager. Plain and simple. All right, we got Left Wing Larry joining us in here. How you doing, Larry?
I'm doing just fine.
Got to get that mic up for you. There you go.
Let me see. Oh, okay.
There you are. So you've been listening to this topic on this
I've been
vape people?
Following it quite closely, and I agree with you 100%. I agree with the LEAP background.
Yeah.
LEAP, law enforcement against prohibition of all kinds.
Yes. Yes. And let me read to you some of their substance abuse policy. The O.penVAPE companies are committed to maintaining a substance abuse-free workplace. No employee is permitted to consume, possess, sell, purchase, or be under the influence of dangerous drugs while employed by O.penVAPE. The consumption, sale, possession, or purchase of dangerous drugs in any vehicle owned or leased on behalf of O.penVAPE or at any O.penVAPE facility that is licensed to sell cannabis is prohibited and is ground for immediate termination. The use of over-the-counter drugs and legally prescribed drugs is permitted as long as they are used in the manner for which they were prescribed and provided that such use does not hinder an employee's ability to safely and adequately perform his or her job. Okay, folks, just I'm going to pause there for a second. Out there in Listenerville, raise your hand if you've ever gotten a pill from a friend that was like a painkiller or an antibiotic or something that wasn't prescribed to you, but you went and borrowed it or bought it or got some. Guess what? That's a federal crime. That's a state crime. That's a crime in lots and lots of different ways, and it actually is illegal use of drugs. So if you were working at O.penVAPE and a couple of days ago you had borrowed an OxyContin pill from a friend because you had a back spasm, but you were fine 2 days from then, and you were working just fine. You weren't hurt, you weren't high, nothing like that. But you got into some kind of accident on the job. And then they drug tested you for cause, of course. They're going to find that OxyContin that you in your system that you had from a couple days ago. They're going to ask, where's your prescription for OxyContin? And you're going to say, well, I don't have one. And you're going to be fired. Or you're going to be sent, I'm sorry, they're going to send you to EAP, the Employee Assistance Program. That's what they're going to do. They're going to send you EAP, send you to a counselor. And I'm sure it won't affect your career progress at all. We'll read more from this policy. And then we will give you a read of Normal's suggested workplace drug policy and see how they compare. Maybe you ought to think about talking to the people who know a little bit about the marijuana community before you make
We'll
rules
be right back after
about
these
the marijuana
messages from our
community.
420 friendly sponsors. Support these advertisers because their ad money goes straight to the Russ Belville Show. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Hey, Tokers and Tokettes, Radical Russ here to introduce you to my friend Matt and all the staff at Lush LED Lighting. Growing plants indoors can be a rewarding hobby, but electricity bills can go through the roof. Then you have to cool down all those big hot lights. It can drive a grower insane. With Lush LED Lighting, you can solve many of these issues and double your rewards. If you thought LEDs were meet the tech of today, Matt and his scientists have developed the perfect light for flowering plants with far less cost and heat. And the results? Let's just say I appear at a lot of events with the masters of indoor horticulture, and the harvests I saw from Lush LED Lighting were big, tight, sticky, and very effective. Check out LushLEDlighting.com right now and tell them Radical Russ sent you. Double your rewards and lower your expenses with Lush LED Lighting. .420 Radio, your ticket to Seattle Hemp Fest. I'm Radical Russ Belville, and I want to thank you for listening to 420 Radio. We couldn't survive without you and our sponsors, and I'd like you to check out one of our prime sponsors, the National Cannabis Coalition. I've been working with NCC since June of 2012, and I'm proud to be part of the team they have assembled. National Cannabis Coalition is building the partnerships with reformers, lawmakers, and industry we need to be successful. Visit the National Cannabis Coalition website at nationalcannabiscoalition.com or the easier-to-remember NCC420.com.
That's where you'll get the exclusive first look at my radical rants, as well as informative articles from the nation's top cannabis pundits. Visit ncc420.com today, and if you have your phone handy, text Russ to 420-420 to support NCC and 420 Radio. It's a free text message that helps us help you end adult marijuana prohibition. Learn more at ncc420.com, and thanks for supporting independent marijuana legalization public radio.
Everybody, 10 after the hour here in beautiful Portland, Oregon, where it's just gorgeous outside. Glad to be here with you, bringing you a little bit of information and entertainment by, for, and about the cannabis community. And we want you to contribute as well. When we say Voice of the Marijuana Nation, we mean all of us. We mean a collective voice. So we, in the future, I'm already got the word out for some interns. And it looks like I've got one really good intern for Portland who's going to meet me tomorrow at the March, and a great intern out of Denver who may be our new newsreader / Denver correspondent. And I'm looking to create a field team, hopefully one in each capital city in America, to be the correspondent for the bills and the news and everything that's going on with marijuana legalization in their state. So if you're interested, send me an email, russ@radicalruss.com. Give us subject cannabis correspondent, and we'll see what we can do. The hope here is that we can get enough funding that we can throw a couple bucks your way too. It might not be anything big. You might get $20 for a report, but hey, it's 20 more bucks than you had when you started. So check that out. We hope we can build this into be the true news gathering organization that the marijuana movement deserves. That's right, time. It's time for Fan Friday Trivia Giveaway with High Times Magazine. Here's your host, Blaine Quinkendale. I don't know, I'm just making it up. Hey, yeah, it's Fan Friday Trivia. We haven't done this in a while because, Utah and all. But we are still continuing our Fan Friday Trivia, where we give away an issue of High Times Magazine to one of our second-hour listeners. And this is the one we're giving away today, the one that the last week that we did this, April of 1977, High Times Magazine, with a ad for Jefferson Airplane's flight log on the back. All sorts of great stuff in this. Commander Cody, there's some Furry Freak Brothers cartoons in here. Is Don Juan really Castaneda? The JFK hit, Castro hit in the CIA. You get the old school High Times. It's really fun looking through these things. It's like a history lesson. And this one goes out to the person who correctly guessed the trivia question. And our last trivia question, we asked this one on April 18th, was, what year was Radical Russ's first appearance at a marijuana legalization event, and what was it? What year was my first appearance at a marijuana legalization event, and what was it? Our winner is Chris McKinley, who correctly guessed that it was 2005, and it was the Global Marijuana March, the Global Cannabis March, that this will be my 10th Global Cannabis March as we move into this weekend. So congratulations to Chris. You're our winner. I'll send you out an email, and you just send me your address, and we will get that issue mailed out to you. So now we have our new issue giveaway that we'll be doing, and we give this away next Friday. It's High Times May 1977. An article here, I Remember Civil Defense. We've got Dope War Crimes in Mexico, a centerfold of exotic weeds, another Furry Freak Brothers cartoon, and the exclusive last words of Harry J. Anslinger, the narc who turned off the world. And so we'll just look through this. Also on the back, Strike a Blow for Freedom. Strike a Blow for Freedom, buy U.S. bongs. Not bonds. Buy U.S. bongs. All right, so let's see what we got in here. I'm going to see if we can find the Harry Anslinger part. See if we got an interesting quotes from Anslinger. Here we go. Interview with Anslinger, page 26. And here we go. Harry J. Anslinger. A young bellboy introduced to smoke only one marijuana cigarette went out on the town and killed somebody and had to go to prison. So it's got actual quotes from Harry Anslinger. You want to check this out. May of 77. And now you just have to answer this trivia question. Name every network Russ has created on which the Russ Belville Show has been heard. Name every network I've created upon which the Russ Belville Show has been heard. Send your emails to russ@radicalruss.com. If you can name them all, and we randomly select from all of the correct entries, you will win this May 77 High Times magazine. There you go. So there's your trivia question for our Fan Friday Trivia Challenge. All right, so welcome back, and we're sitting here with Left Wing Larry, who's hacking up along. How you doing, Larry?
Oh, I'm just hacking up along.
Hacking up along.
I seem to have brought this back from Colorado. I don't know what it is.
Got something? Something bad, huh?
I haven't been able to breathe since I got back.
You got too inured to the mile-high atmosphere, perhaps?
I think it thinned everything out, and then it all collapsed on itself. I don't know.
That's what it is. All right. But anyway, we were talking about this this O.penVAPE, which has now a policy, a drug testing policy. They announced it a couple of weeks ago. And to be fair, I'm going to continue reading part of their policy. O.penVAPE does not tolerate employees who report for duty while impaired by the use of cannabis, alcohol, or dangerous drugs. The consumption, sale, possession, or purchase of cannabis or alcohol in any vehicle owned or leased on behalf of O.penVAPE or at any O.penVAPE facility that is licensed to sell cannabis is prohibited and is grounds for immediate termination. All employees should report evidence of cannabis, alcohol, or dangerous drug abuse to their supervisor immediately. In cases in which the use of cannabis, alcohol, or dangerous drugs creates an imminent threat to the safety of persons or property, employees are required by O.penVAPE to report the violation. Failure to do so may result in disciplinary action up to and including termination of employment. As a part of our effort to maintain a workplace free of substance abuse, O.penVAPE employees may be asked to submit to a medical examination and/or clinical testing for the presence of dangerous drugs. If an employee is involved in an automobile accident while working, that employee may be subject to medical examination and/or clinical testing for the presence of cannabis, alcohol, and/or dangerous drugs. Within the limits of federal, state, and local laws, O.penVAPE reserves the right to examine and test for dangerous drugs at its discretion. That means anytime they feel like it. As a condition of your employment with O.penVAPE, employees must comply with the substance abuse policy. Be advised that no part of the substance abuse policy shall be construed to alter or amend the at-will employment relationship between O.penVAPE and its employees. By the way, at-will employment means they can fire you at will, any reason they want. Employees found in violation of this policy may be subject to disciplinary action up to and including termination of employment. Now, what was that, Larry?
I've been subject to that exact sentence before.
At will.
At will.
At will. Now, here's their list of dangerous drugs. Cocaine, amphetamines, methamphetamines, methadone, opiates, opium, heroin, heroin. Apparently, you're not allowed to bring Wonder Woman into the office.
Oh, no.
Or Amelia Earhart, or even
Clinton.
Clinton, even Mrs. Clinton, because no heroines are allowed. I love a drug policy that can't even freaking spell the drug correctly. Heroin does not have an E on the end of it. Anyway, their dangerous drugs are cocaine, amphetamine, methamphetamine, methadone, opium, heroin, morphine, fentanyl, hydrocodone, oxycodone, unless prescribed by a licensed doctor, phencyclidine, that's PCP, barbiturates, benzodiazepines, tricyclic antidepressants, unless prescribed by a licensed MD or DO. So this doesn't specifically say that it's a pre-employment or random drug testing, but it doesn't say they can't. It says that basically they could. If they want to make this a for-cause situation, where they're talking about making it for, suspicion, that's something that's a little different. But it's coming off from their press release of 2 weeks ago that it's a suspicionless drug testing situation. And that is untenable. That is unacceptable to those of us in the cannabis community. Got to stop this stupid drug testing. All right.
I do want to bring one thing up, though.
Yeah?
About accidents in the workplace.
All right, let's do that when we come back. It's 4:20 right now. We got to take our break.
We'll
Right back after this.
Oh, have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. Have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. If he said he swam to China, he would sell you South Carolina. Then you know you're talking to that reefer man.
The law offices of Omar Figueroa would like to remind you to stand up for your rights. Please do not give up your precious liberties. There's nothing wrong with standing up for our constitutional rights, and in fact, it's the best way to honor the Constitution that recognizes our natural rights. Treat law enforcement with respect and respect the Constitution by standing up for your rights. If you are detained or arrested, stand up for your rights by repeating, "I respectfully invoke all of my legal and constitutional rights. I do not consent to any search and seizure. I want to remain silent, and I want to speak with my attorney, Omar Figueroa." Omar Figueroa has more than a decade of experience in federal and California courts and graduated from Yale University, Stanford Law School, and Trial Lawyers College. Please contact the law offices of Omar Figueroa at 415-489-0420 or 707-829-0215 or on the web at omarfigueroa.com.
I'm a reefer smoking man.
Wood Pipe Smoke Shop and Speakeasy is your source for cannabis community gear in southern Wisconsin. Owners Brian and Tammy Wood are located in Kendall, just outside of Madison, and they've got everything for the smoking enthusiast, including a full assortment of pipes, water pipes, hookahs, bubblers, one-hitters, and so much more. They're open noon to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday and can help you with your detoxification therapies as well. Call 608-466-7473 or email woodpipes@yahoo.com for more information. That's 608-466-7473 or email woodpipes@yahoo.com. And as always, go pack go. Hi, Tokers and Tokettes. This is Radical Russ from 420radio.org and the Russ Belville Show, encouraging you to check out the 420radio.org shop. All the items in the 420 Radio shop help pay the bills here at 420 Radio, and they look great as well. You can get Russ Belville Show pins, 420 Radio pins, stickers, posters, and more, including downloadable products that also include my PowerPoint presentations and the acclaimed 420 Radio drug test for Excel. All that and more, plus discounts if you're a VIP member of 420radio.org. It's the 420 Radio.org shop helping to support listener-supported cannabis community radio right here at 420radio.org. Thanks for your support.
Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Singing, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright.
That's Ziggy Marley performing live, a very intimate acoustic performance for the Normal National Conference 2010 in Portland. It was just one. Was this the Portland conference? Or no, maybe this is the Denver conference. I forget, but one of these conferences. Got to sit there listening to Ziggy Marley play acoustic. God, it was a beautiful thing. Welcome back. It's Toker Talk Radio. We're hanging out with Left Wing Larry, who wanted to say something about workplace accidents, who would know more about it than me, because I've always been a cubicle-dwelling keyboard puncher. So my worst accident is freaking carpal tunnel and a paper cut.
Well, coming from the construction industry, now when I say construction industry, I'm talking everything from nuclear power plants down to installing boilers and everything in in between.
Yeah.
But anytime you have an accident, now this, I believe it went into effect in the late 70s, early 80s. Anytime you have a workplace accident where workman's compensation claim is going to be filed, everybody involved in that accident, and I'm talking about the superintendent, the foreman, all workmen in the work crew involved, where that person was injured, all have to immediately jump in the car and go to the hospital and get drug tested. That's automatic. And it's one of those things that's going to jump up and bite us in the ass even after legalization that we're going to have to work to get rid of. One of those little laws that's going to be hanging in there like a hangnail on you.
Right. And it doesn't make it any better for us after legalization to say, oh, well, it's okay to drug test for all those other drugs, just not ours.
Right.
Because it's kind of like how medical marijuana reinforces the idea we're patients, not criminals. Oh, so I must be a criminal.
For them to even put that wording that anybody involved in an accident into their company policy is redundant.
Right.
They didn't need to do this.
Because it already exists.
Because it already exists by federal law.
Right. There you go. Especially with some of the stuff, if they're working with solvents, if they're working with gases, that already exists.
Right. It's already there. If somebody gets burnt, if somebody gets anything that involves workman's compensation, they've all got to be drug tested. Everybody involved in the area where that accident happened.
For example, here, they say, if an employee is involved in an automobile accident while working, that employee may be subject to medical examination and or clinical testing for the presence of cannabis, alcohol, and or dangerous drugs. So you get in a car wreck, what's the level of cannabis that's okay? Because their whole point is that, we want to differentiate cannabis from these dangerous drugs. But right here in your policy, you're saying if you're in a car wreck, you're going to test for cannabis, alcohol, and dangerous drugs. So if you test positive for cannabis in that situation, in the car wreck, do you lose your job now? Or do you go to the EAP? Do you get your forced rehab? Or is there a specific level you're going to set? Is it the 5 nanogram level that they've got in Colorado? If you're below that, everybody's okay? But if you're above 5 nanograms, you're screwed at the O.penVAPE company. What is it? See, this is the slippery slope. This is the problem you've got, is once you've signed on to accept the idea that we can pry into people's bodies and personal time, then where does that stop? Where do you stop that? And coming back saying, this is about safety and we want to keep our employees safe. But you already have said you haven't had a safety problem. You already said in your press release that we've got no evidence that there's any dangerous drugs going on here, any problems, any accidents. Have you had any accidents? So what's up here? What I see here is a cynical ploy by a company that recognizes that legalization has hit the tipping point, right? Legalization is going to continue, therefore their market's going to expand. And as their market expands, they want to position themselves as not being the stoners. We're not the stoners, we're the grown-ups. You heard it in his replies when he kept saying we could have a grown-up conversation about this, right? We're not the stoners, we're not the immature, we're not the losers. We're the mature, responsible people who completely agree with you that we ought to punish people for drugs, just not marijuana. See, that's the mindset they're trying to adopt. And just as when you're trying to pass legalization in Washington state and you say, well, if we put this per se DUID in, the activists are going to hate it, but we'll get more votes from soccer moms than we'll lose from activists. That same kind of cost-benefit analysis goes into these companies saying, well, we do this drug testing policy. It might piss off some of the activists, but legalization is going to happen without them anyway. And as we move into the new markets, the soccer moms and all will think we're swell because we drug test our employees. And thus, we get even the cannabis businesses supporting drug testing. That's the end result of all of this. Now, Normal, whom I used to work for, also has a drug testing policy. It's multiple choice, but no, it's not multiple. It's just a joke. It's just a joke. It's not multiple choice. I'm just kidding. Thanks. No, Normal also has a drug testing policy. I wanted to pull this up so that we could compare. What do activists think about this? And let me see if I can find their... It's always hard finding their exact thing here. There we go. Normal's model workplace policy for cannabis. So, as far as intoxicants in the workplace, they say the company has vital interests in ensuring a safe, healthy, and efficient working environment for employees, coworkers, and customers. Using or possessing alcohol or intoxicating drugs in the workplace prevents danger to anyone. For these reasons, we've established as a condition of employment and continuing employment with the company the following intoxicants in the workplace policy. Controlled substances. Employees are prohibited from reporting to work or working while under the influence of alcohol or other drugs that adversely affect the employee's ability to safely perform their job. The company does not engage in random and or pre-accident drug testing of employees. Employee substance abuse problems will be identified by issues with behavior and measures of performance only. The company understands there is a difference between substance use and substance abuse, and that use isn't necessarily abuse. Employees are free to make their own lifestyle choices when not in the workplace or otherwise on company time. However, such choices must not be allowed to interfere with job performance. Employees are prohibited from reporting for duty or remaining on duty with any alcohol or any intoxicants in their systems. Employees are further prohibited from consuming alcohol or other intoxicants during working hours, including meal and break periods. That is a model drug testing policy in the world of legal cannabis. No suspicionless drug testing. Now, this testing after you've had an accident, this for-cause testing, that's a different kind of argument. But even then, I've got some problems with it, because just because they might detect a drug in your system doesn't mean that that drug had any bearing on whether or not it contributed to the accident. It can, it can't, but it's not an absolute guarantee. So we've got to continue fighting against this stuff. I can't believe that we've got a cannabis company that's actually pulling this kind of stuff. All right, let me get to another topic that I wanted to cover, and that is these CBD states. So there's a bill sitting on the desk of the governor of Iowa. There's a bill sitting on the desk of the governor of Florida, and one sitting on the governor's desk in Missouri. They're all somewhat different, each one between them, but they're all CBD-only bills. At least the Missouri and the Florida one would provide some place for people to get the CBD. The Iowa bill is going to force people to have to go to Colorado and bring it back, which of course is a violation of Colorado law and a violation of federal trafficking law. Yeah, love it when your legislatures have so much compassion for the sick and dying and the poor epileptic children that they're only going to force you to break state and federal law to take care of your kid. It's awfully sweet of them. But when you think about this, you know what's scary about this, folks? This means you realize it took 4 years. It took 96 through 2000 from 1996 to 2000 to get 8 medical marijuana states. It's taken 4 months to get 8 CBD states. Think about that. Look how quick these politicians are to jump on these CBD bills. Why do you suppose that is? Why do you suppose Governor Tom Corbett in Pennsylvania, who has been an opponent of medical marijuana since the beginning, who people have been bringing, activists have been fighting, state representatives have been working on bill after bill after bill, continuing to chop it down to make it more and more restrictive. Okay, we'll take out the home grow. Okay, we won't let them smoke it. Okay, we'll require, if they vaporize it, they have to be doing it under medical supervision. Really, that's one of the bills out there. Can't vaporize unless there's your doctor present. We'll do everything we can. We'll cut it down for law enforcement to feel good about it, blah, blah, blah. They keep going on this. Corbett's been against medical marijuana forever. And so now I've been reading headlines coming out of Philly that say, Governor Corbett changes his mind on medical marijuana. Governor Corbett, in a stunning about-face, supports medical marijuana. Well, that's bullshit. He doesn't support medical marijuana. He supports this CBD-only push. He supports the CBD-only. And why do you suppose he gets such great ink out of that? What a great headline for the guy. Guy been vilified as somebody who hates medical marijuana. Now, as far as the national conversation goes, outside of the marijuana circles, it's, oh, well, what a compassionate guy. He changed his mind on medical marijuana. Hasn't changed a thing. None of these states passing CBD-only bills have changed their stance on medical marijuana. What's the number one thing you hear from these politicians in the state houses and to their local press when they talk about supporting these CBD-only bills? This isn't medical marijuana. This is CBD-only. This is cannabidiol, the medical part of cannabis that doesn't get you high. Doesn't get you high. How many times in the 90s and the 2000s, as I was covering these medical marijuana initiatives that were going through, did I have to hear patients talk about, well, for us, it's not about getting high. It's not about getting high. We're patients. It's not about getting high. Health before happy hour. We're patients, not criminals. It's not about getting high. This is medicine. We're just doing this for medical purposes. It's medicine because it's not about getting high. Well, that's what these CBD bills are. They're about a medicine. No doubt, CBD is a medical cannabinoid. And they're not about getting high. Nobody gets high off of CBD. I wonder if these medical marijuana supporters can hear their own rhetoric coming back to bite them in the ass from these supporters of CBD-only bills. I wonder if they can sense the irony in fighting so hard to distance themselves from us healthy people who are just looking to get high, and how they need us now more than ever if they want to have any medical benefit out of THC in the next few states. Hey, I got an idea. How about we just fight to liberate the plant and all the people who use it and don't care why they're using it? How about we just recognize that's our free right as Americans?
We'll be right back after these messages from our 420 friendly sponsors. Support these advertisers because their ad money goes straight to the Russ Belville Show. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Adam Hand of Handmade Apparel produces quality custom designs for t-shirts, hats, and other apparel. Handmade Apparel is the official design shop for 420 Radio, The Russ Belville Show, Ganja John, and Cascadia Concentrates, among many clients who rely on Adam Hand for everything from short-run custom projects to full-run clothing lines. Adam's meticulous designs are individually crafted and screened in vibrant, high-definition color. Visit handmadeapparel.biz to browse the selection of handmade gear or to get a personal quote for your own designs. Handmade Apparel, a proud supporter of 420radio.org.
Let 'em bring in the beat.
Support the Russ Belville Show. Text the word Russ to 420-420 and connect with the National Cannabis Coalition. You can also send $10 to the Russ Belville Show right from your smartphone. That's Russ to 420-420. You're listening to Radical Russ on the Russ Belville Show.
.420 Radio, your ticket to the High Times Cannabis Cups. Have you considered medical marijuana? Double-blind, peer-reviewed studies have found cannabinoid therapies to be successful in treating the symptoms of Alzheimer's disease, ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, brain cancer, chronic pain, diabetes mellitus, dystonia, fibromyalgia, GI disorders, hepatitis C, HIV/AIDS, hypertension, incontinence, MRSA, multiple sclerosis, osteoporosis, pruritus, rheumatoid arthritis, sleep apnea, and Tourette's syndrome, as well as anecdotal evidence in suggesting relief from anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress, plus reduction in the need for narcotic painkillers. Side effects from medical marijuana can include euphoria, relaxation, anxiety, panic reaction, paranoia, tachycardia, dry eyes, dry mouth, concentration and reaction time impairments, appetite increase, and in some U.S. states, arrest and incarceration. But medical marijuana is non-toxic and cannot cause overdose. Medical marijuana, it's not for everyone, but ask your doctor if medical marijuana may be right for you.
Oh yeah, we got bud cam up. Got some lovely Webster flowers there on the magnified screen. Hope you enjoy that. Those of you watching on our webcam. That's Orange Grove playing in the background with Token On Ya Love. I'm Radical Russ. You're listening to Toker Talk Radio here. Our phone lines are open at 971-533-7111. If you've got any comments or questions, we are here to take them. When we say Voice of the Marijuana Nation, we mean you. This is the platform. This is the public radio for the cannabis community. So you can make your voice heard, and it'll get recorded and distributed on podcast, and you can make a statement if you want. So here we are for you, 971-533-7111. I was talking earlier about these CBD-only states. We've got bills sitting in Iowa, Florida, and Missouri waiting to be signed. And the thing about these CBD bills is they give an out to a lot of these politicians, right? Because, medical marijuana is incredibly popular. Incredibly popular. It's like 70%, 80% in some states when you poll on it. So it's been this little tap dance that the politicians have had to do when confronted with the issue. Some of them will tepidly support it, but more often than not, it's, well, we need to have more studies. I don't support drug abuse. We don't want to be like California. And they're always a little unsure where to land on this thing. But with a CBD bill, they get to say, I proudly supported this medical marijuana measure, to all the people that might have an inkling of idea what medical marijuana is as an issue, but really it's not their everyday bread and butter. So they don't know a CBD from a CBGB, from a THC, from a TV. They don't know, right? So they just hear, Missouri passed a medical marijuana bill. Well, that's great. Now we can move on. Now we don't have to worry about medical marijuana anymore. Now that issue is over. And that's what the politicians get to do with it too. I supported medical marijuana, but I supported it in a responsible way that didn't legislate drug abuse or smoking. So they can stand up with their law enforcement friends and their tough on crime, constituents and still look good that way too. And it's something that's been predicted. I've predicted this in the Box Canyon theory going back to 2010, that if you keep fighting only for medical marijuana, your marijuana is going to become only medical. And now it has. CBD is the culmination of the medical marijuana strategy. And what culminates past this, folks, is Epidiolex and Sativex and all of these whole plant marijuana extracts that they'll be able to put together. They'll be able to very accurately map genomes of cannabis plants and not mark down the linolene and the terpenes and the sesquiterpenes and all that crap. They'll have it down to a science. That's what science does. And so there will be all sorts of preparations of cannabis medicines. And I'm actually looking forward to it. I look forward to the day when someone who's got GERD, who's got this reflux disease, can go to a doctor and the doctor says, well, according to our studies, this particular GW Pharmaceuticals product, if you take 15 milligrams of it sublingually 3 times a day, should take care of your symptoms. And that'll be paid for by insurance, folks, because it'll be legal. It'll be a legal drug. Be paid for by insurance. Everybody be hunky-dory with it. The guy who's got GERD gets his GERD taken care of. The pharmaceutical company that makes the medicine out of cannabis makes some money. And the issue of whether or not people can get access to the plant for other purposes, like maybe fun or relaxation or just wellness, Well, that's not an issue anymore to him. Why should he care? What? What's that? You've got cancer? You got cancer and you got terrible nausea and pain? Well, gosh, we have a GW Pharmaceuticals product for that. We've got a perfectly balanced cannabinoid that's of measured dosage and exact titration that will work for you. We've shown it to work in laboratory studies, and we've got, all these patients that have turned out fine on it. So why is it you need to grow a pot plant that some hippie might smoke to get high? See, this is the thing. A house divided cannot stand. We must hang together. We shall surely hang apart. Back around the early 90s, and again, not to say this was an evil intent, but people who were desperate to save AIDS patients and desperate to help cancer patients recognized that the path of legalization, of fighting for this as an issue of freedom, was a long, hard road. But the issue of pulling on heartstrings for someone with a terrible, tragic sob story, oh, sure, marijuana smoking is a terrible habit, a vice, and a criminal endeavor, but my God, this person has cancer. We can at least let this person smoke pot. And part of the idea behind that, there was an agenda back behind that said, hey, look, once the people see the cancer patient smoking pot and getting help from it, once they see the glaucoma or the epilepsy patient or the pain patient or the nausea patient using cannabis and not necessarily smoking it, vaporizing it or whatever, that'll open people's minds and awareness to it. And then they'll be more likely to legalize. And hey, maybe there's something to that in that the first two states that legalized were medical states. But maybe there's also an aspect of that said, oh, marijuana's only good if it's used medically. Otherwise, it's evil. We're patients. You're criminals. So that's where we find ourselves now. And we find that I see, as I forecast, as I project ahead, I can only see this going further and further into pharmaceuticalization, into cannaceuticals, if you will. I see less and less availability of the plant itself for medical purposes. As these drugs get through their FDA fast track approval processes come 2015, 2016, 2017, I predict we start seeing Midwestern and East Coast and anybody but the West Coast medical marijuana states dropping patients' right to grow altogether in favor of shopping in dispensaries that have these prepared products for them. We see it happening in Nevada. Nevada patients are losing their right to home grow. They're grandfathered in until like 2015 or something, but by then they got to find themselves a dispensary to shop at. And once you've got the government in control of the dispensaries, once you've got regulatory control over these dispensaries that are selling plants and bud and hash and edibles or whatever they are, here comes that anti-smoking backlash. Smoking bad, smoking bad. The latest few medical marijuana states have said, we're going to find you can have medical marijuana, but not smoked forms because, smoking bad. So you're going to see these dispensaries start to lose the smokable products. Edibles might still be there, tinctures, lotions. But no, maybe you start losing the smokable products. Maybe they start replacing them with Sativex and Epidiolex and all of these sprays and tinctures and inhalers, folks. Don't think that there won't be inhaled cannabis products. They'll just come from an inhaler, like, your asthma thing, your little asthma thing, right? It'll be atomized. It'll be aerosoled, whatever the hell that is that makes that work. It'll be inhaled for sure because inhaling medicine is a fantastic route, especially cannabinoid medicines is the best route past the blood-brain barrier. It's an immediate effect for people with nausea that doesn't require them to swallow. There's tons of benefit to inhaled medication, but they're going to take the smoking part out. They're going to take the using the plant or its oils and vaporizing it ourself part out. And they're going to set you up with, vapor sticks, pre-mixed, non-refillable kind of things. That's the direction medical marijuana goes. So when I hear medical marijuana people complaining about these CBD-only bills, I'm like, well, your chickens have come home to roost, haven't they? You wanted medical marijuana. Now you're getting medical marijuana. This will be as medical as hell. We'll make sure only a neurologist can recommend it, and only if they've tried every single other treatment first. We got to put you through the magnetic imaging scans and a ton of pharmaceuticals. Hell, let's give you some shock therapy. And maybe if that doesn't work, we'll get you some of this evil marijuana. See, medical marijuana picked the easy route back in 96, picked the politically expedient route. Medical marijuana is what divided us. We shouldn't all be divided. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Those of us been sitting around for 14 to 16 years while medical patients were free from arrest. We agree. We absolutely agree. We shouldn't be divided. But that division happened in 96. When people in California said, nah, you got to get a permission slip. You don't have a right to smoke pot. You have to get a permission slip from a doctor. And then every state that enacted medical marijuana from that point on insisted on registrations and licenses and registries, cards, and specific condition lists and plant limits and possession limits down to 3 ounces, down to 2 ounces, down to 1 ounce. No home grow as we get to 2010. You can't grow your own. That's far too dangerous. The road less traveled, the more difficult path, indeed, at that time in history, would have been to stick with the freedom issue, with the idea that marijuana is safer than alcohol. Man, I tell you, if the marijuana is safer than alcohol message could have started in the 80s, it'd be legal by now. Because that's an issue that brings it back to what it is, and that is the illogic of making the safest of the drugs the worst that you're punished for, and the most dangerous of the drugs the legal ones. Makes no sense whatsoever. And had we hammered on that in the 80s and hammered on that in the 90s, had we framed this properly, that it's really not about marijuana, it's really about freedom. If we had hammered away the fact that it's a safer substance, and we'd all stuck together and not tried to decide that some of our pot smoking was morally superior because we were ill versus you people who just want to get high. You can hear the condescension. You can feel the disdain around some medical people sometimes. Oh, you're just choosing to get high. Well, yeah, and you're just choosing not to die or not to puke or whatever, but we're all making a choice, aren't we? And none of us deserve to be punished for making that choice. So I may be getting a little more militant post-arrest. Hey, I love medical marijuana patients. In fact, I know some of the most disabled medical marijuana patients there are. And for every one of those, I know 10 people getting high. So
You cut people, you smoke trees till you get what you need now. Designer drugs and minted smokes to get through the day. You always get them so high.
We'll be right back after these messages from our 420 friendly sponsors. Support these advertisers because their ad money goes straight to the Russ Belville Show. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Marijuana and alcohol are the two most popular recreational drugs in America. Marijuana smoking is non-toxic, relatively safe, and has a low risk of dependence. Alcohol drinking is potentially fatal, dangerous to society, and is quite addictive. Marijuana is safer, so why are we driving people to drink? That's the question of the new book, Marijuana is Safer, So Why Are We Driving People to Drink? By Paul Armentano, Mason Tvert, and Steve Fox. Visit Amazon.com or ChelseaGreen.com today to order your copy of Marijuana is Safer, or visit MarijuanaIsSafer.com. Drug Truth Network, Century of Lies with Dean Becker from Houston, Texas, every Monday at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern, and 3 p.m. GMT, right here on 420radio.org. New Approach Oregon is a coalition of Oregon citizens who believe that treating marijuana use as a crime has failed, costing taxpayers millions in law enforcement resources. We believe it's time for a new approach on marijuana, and that Oregonians deserve a chance to decide in the 2014 general election. Our approach will regulate, tax, and legalize marijuana for adults in Oregon. By implementing a strict system to regulate, tax, and legalize marijuana, we can move Oregon forward and create new revenue for critical services. Under our approach for 2014, 40% of funds would support K-12 education, 20% would support mental health and treatment services, and 15% would be dedicated to law enforcement. Public opinion, coupled with victories in Washington and Colorado, confirms marijuana legalization is inevitable. Visit our website at newapproachoregon.com or our page on Facebook at New Approach Oregon. Thank you.
This is the rhythm of fire. This is the rhythm of love. This is the rhythm of fire. This is the rhythm of love.
Welcome back. Toker Talk Radio, 56 after the hour. I was in the chat room pointing out how, this is something we're going to have to watch out for and guard against as we move into marijuana legalization, and that is drug bigotry. Is being satisfied pot smokers who are now, going to demonize the users of other drugs, right? And trying as much as I can to clean up my language around it too, because language dictates how we think. And I'm trying to abolish words like junkie, tweaker, drunk, unless I'm using them to make a point about someone calling us stoners, right? In comparison, right? But really, most people who use drugs don't have a problem with them, except getting caught by the law. Let me say that again. Most people who use drugs don't have a problem with their drug use. I mean, you go to the National Institutes of Drug Abuse and you ask them, what's the dependency rate on cocaine use, right? They might tell you it's 17%. Alcohol's about 15, right? 17%. Well, doesn't that mean 83% of the people that have tried cocaine didn't become dependent? Perhaps they went to a party, perhaps they were at a club, they did a toot here, a toot there. Maybe they smoked a little crack. But they didn't become addicted. They didn't become dependent on it. They didn't go to work and start driving the forklift on it. And that's what you'll find for just about every drug there is out there, is that a large majority, over 2/3, 80% in most cases, that use that particular drug don't have a problem with it, don't use it that often. So we got to be careful of this drug bigotry. And part of it, we end up getting hemmed in sometimes by our own rhetoric. It's happened with medical. They're getting hemmed in by their own rhetoric of it's not about getting high. Well, we get hemmed in by our rhetoric of treat marijuana like alcohol. Okay, so where's the breathalyzer? And now we're getting the marijuana is safer than alcohol blowback, which is okay, so it's the safety of a drug that determines whether or not we're cool with it, and so it's okay to demonize the people using the, as O.penVAPE calls them, dangerous drugs. Most dangerous drug out there is alcohol, and yet people are allowed to get jobs and work as long as they don't come to work drunk. So as long as they're not drunk on the job, it's generally okay. Hey, thanks, folks. It's been a great week back. Thank you for welcoming me back and all the nice well wishes and kind words after a harrowing week and then all that. See you at the march tomorrow. 11 a.m., Pioneer Courthouse Square. Me and Herb Thrasher. Stay tuned, 8 p.m. for Herb Thrasher Flower Hour. Until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you